peeps, RP here. When you watch horror movies like Zombieland, Trick or Treat, Halloween, or any other horror flick, you expect to be scared and afraid. But in kids' movies, you really don't expect that at all. Sometimes it just jumps out at you without even realizing it. Today, I'm doing a top 15 list of scary kids movies. I'll include movies everyone saw as kids, and movies I'm familiar with. I won't count movies like the 1999 Stephen King's It or Little Shop of Horrors. I'm strictly focusing on movies made for kids only. I won't include things like anime or TV shows. I'm sticking to movies for this one. I will include movies like Monster House and Coraline, despite them intending for their audience to be afraid. They're going to be on this list regardless. I'll also include movies based on TV shows as an exception, such as the Rugrats movie. Whether it be scenes within the movie itself, anything goes if it's in a kids movie, and if it terrified children around the world. I will also count moments in movies that were either horrific or just what the F moments. That being said, let's get started. Coraline. One of my favorite movies of all time, based on a book written by the amazing mind of Neil Gaiman. Coraline is a magical, horrifying movie that can be pulled off by the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas. The book itself is pretty scary, but the movie I thought at the time when I first saw it in theaters was pretty scary. Especially the part where the other mother, or the beldam, wanted to sew buttons in Coraline's eyes. What the heck even is the beldam? This scene onward only gets more and more intense, with the beldam showing her true witch form, kidnapping Coraline's parents to get her to stay with her, and turning into a spider, skeleton, grasshopper thing. The movie itself is a magical horror flick for children, but that's why it's one of my favorite movies. While the book itself is wonderful and scary in its own right, the movie was amazing!
It was so amazing!
Matilda. Can I just say this movie is filled with nothing but child abuse examples, not only on parents, but in school authorities as well? While having abusive parents wasn't enough for this cute little bookworm, an abusive principal was a cherry on top of the movie. Based on Roald Dahl's popular book of the same name, the movie itself did the job of scaring younger audiences. From Trunchbull having the chokey, that thing was actually based off of a real torture device, believe it or not, torturing and terrifying kids like a domestically abusive drill sergeant, to being the abusive aunt to the sweet and kind Miss Honey. The movie, while not too scary, captures things that actually happen IRL. The sad thing is, kids who are abused by teachers and or their parents sometimes don't get the justice for any of this. While some teachers are caught in the act, most get away with it, or on paid leave for some reason. Parents either get away with abusing their own flesh and blood, or just make the child keep quiet about it. If you see a child being abused by a parent, or even a teacher, speak out and tell someone, for crying out loud. Because one abused child is already one too many, and deserves justice, and to be loved and cared for. And this is coming from a girl who doesn't want to have kids and is plumb terrified of them. The Rugrats movie. Rugrats was one of my favorite shows growing up as a child. Watching shows on Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network was basically an everyday activity for me, when I wasn't playing with toys, bugging my parents, or doing normal kid things. When I first watched the movie on VHS, I didn't think much of these scenes at first, but now I'm thinking, okay, what the F, Rugrats? To add in some context, the movie introduces the character and Tommy's newborn baby brother, Dill Pickles. After Dill is born, things start to get a little depressing for Tommy. Dee and Sue paying more attention to Dill rather than Tommy, due to new babies needing attention and extra care. when Stu gives him a clock locket, which Tommy calls a sponsibility, hinting that Stu told Tommy he had responsibilities as an older brother now. Throughout the movie, the Rugrats are lost in the woods and trying to get home, with them encountering the circus monkeys in an abandoned train, Angelica and Spike searching for the babies, mainly to get our doll back, and almost getting eaten by the wolf Scarsnout, and their parents worried to death trying to look for them. When the monkeys kidnap Dill, Tommy sets out on his own to find him, only afterwards to prove that Phil, Lil, and Chucky were right about Dill being a total nuisance, and also everyone giving this character a crap ton of hate. I myself think he's an okay character. Tommy, now blinded by rage, attempts to pour banana baby food on Dill so he can be fed to the monkeys. Like, what? You can see the obvious terrified look on Dill's face, not wanting to die or be taken by the monkeys. With Tommy realizing his mistake, and with his anger now calming down, Dill hugs him, with Tommy returning the hug and apologizing to Dill. Dill hugs him, with Tommy returning the hug and apologizing to Dill, promising to be a better big brother. For any Christians out there, this is a scene reenactment of the story of Adam and Eve's children, Cain and Abel, with Cain killing Abel, or was it vice versa? I never liked this story, even as a Christian. But that's not the worst of it. Near the end of the climax of the scene, as the Rugrats make it to the park rangers area, or the lizard's house as they call it, the monkeys are about to take them, or worse, when they run off terrified by the wolf, Scarsnout. Thankfully, Spike comes to their rescue, with him almost being knocked out of the edge of the bridge. Thankfully, Angelica creates a distraction, risking her own life for Spike to grab Scarsnout's tail, dragging both of them off the bridge and falling into the water. Thankfully, Spike was alright, but jeez, Rugrats! First Pokemon creating setting scenes with Bye Bye Butterfree, Pikachu's Goodbye, and Pokemon the first movie, and now you with Cain and Abel reenactments, and the possibility of Spike's demise. But with the success of the Rugrats movie, came two other movies, Rugrats in Paris and Rugrats Go Wild. The final trilogy being a crossover with classic Goosebumps, other popular cartoon, The Wild Thornberrys. But yeah, the Rugrats movie was a lot darker than I remembered, with some scary disturbing scenes. Next! Dumbo. Disney is no stranger to creepy, scary, or let alone sad moments. Dumbo was, and still is, one of my top favorite Disney movies of all time. While I haven't seen the live-action remake directed by the talented and amazing Tim Burton, creator of the greatest magnum opus movies of all time, The Nightmare Before Christmas, the original is one that sticks with me the most. I did have the VHS version back when I was a kid. I'm surprised I never cried as a child when this movie was played, nor when the song Baby Mine played with a scene of Mrs. Jumbo rocking Dumbo with her trunk, regardless of the feel fest this movie created. It's a scene with the pink elephants that make me unnerved at the very least. Similar to Heffalumps and Woozles from Winnie the Pooh, Pink Elephants is nothing more than a weird old rare candy trip with booze replaced with the rare candies. After Dumbo and Timothy Mouse accidentally get drunk off of spiked water, they start to hallucinate pink elephants in the sky. I don't think there's anything about the scene I can't say that already has been said. The images are already disturbing and weird enough as it is. So let's hope Tim Burton deleted the scene with the pink elephants in the remake when he directed it. The Brave Little Toaster. Over the 1960s and 70s, from the 80s and 90s, people weren't really aware of what kids were watching, nor were they concerned until maybe the early 2000s and onward. Originally I was debating whether or not to add The Black Cauldron, Spirited Away, or The Night Before Christmas on this entry, but since I can't say anything about The Black Cauldron that has already been said, and I haven't watched Spirited Away until I was in my early late teen years, and The Night Before Christmas didn't really have anything scary to me at least, I figured The Brave Little Toaster would be better for this entry. Appliances on their way to find their human master. Sounds like a cute idea, with adorable looking animations and drawings in the movie. It's a lot scarier than you think. Looks can be deceiving. From the toaster having a nightmare of a creepy AF firefighter clown that could put the 1999's Pennywise to shame, to the B-movie musical scene with morbid creations, to the air conditioner blowing up to the point where he's you know, dead. To cars singing about being crushed to death. This whole entire movie is just a fear fest for goodness sake. Moving on. Spirited Away. Well, I said I haven't watched Spirited Away until my early late teens. I still wanted to put it on this century. Studio Ghibli and Hayao Miyazaki are known for creating beloved and wonderful popularized movies such as Ponyo, My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, and many more. Spirited Away was one of the first Ghibli films I watched, which would later lead me into watching some of the more well-known and popular movies created by the company. And it's one of my favorites to this day. I know I said no anime movies, but I wanted to make this an exception super quickly, since it was a movie I saw growing up, and getting into my anime phase when I was in my teens. This movie is not only beautiful, but has a weird vibe to it along with the beauty, but in a strange coming-of-age, endearing sort of way. Chihiro and her family are moving to their new home, when they come across a castle and they decide to investigate. When they come to the area with food, Chihiro tries to ward off her parents from eating the food while they pig out, pun intended. You'll see why later. When Chihiro discovers a bathhouse, she meets Haku, who tells her to leave and distracts whoever's opening the bathhouse. When Chihiro tries to get her parents to leave, they turn into pigs after eating the food meant for the spirits. Yeah, that could scar any kid for life, which is very messed up. And the scene with No-Face slowly going insane while being in the bathhouse, trying to shower Chihiro with gifts while she declines, and he ends up becoming more and more of a monster until he gets Chihiro and eventually leaves the bathhouse while getting sick from a medicine Chihiro feeds him. This movie, while beautiful, is all scares. Now, I just want to say what I think about No-Face before moving on. No-Face, at least to me, was only thanking Chihiro for letting him in the bathhouse when it was raining, and he wanted to shower her with gifts and wanted to be her friend. But the sanity levels with him being in the bathhouse for long periods of time make him go a little nuts. It's possible that all spirits such as No-Face aren't allowed in the bathhouse because they're monster spirits or demons. The last one makes more sense. Or maybe I'm looking into this too deeply. Moving on. All Dogs Go to Heaven, a classic animated film by the amazing Don Bluth, was made a plethora of magnum opuses such as The Land Before Time, An American Tail, and The Secret of Nim. All Dogs Go to Heaven had two other sequels, one of them being a Christmas special, and a spin-off TV series, and this is one of the most beloved classics in Don Bluth's career. But this movie is nothing short of sad moments and moments of darkness. I do remember seeing a majority of this film once or twice in my younger years between the ages of 8 and 11. So this one for sure counts. To give us some summary, Charlie Barkins, a German Shepherd Collie mix, declines to be in heaven and returns to Earth seeking revenge on his murderer and ex-partner Carface, a Bulldog Pitbull mix. It ends up finding a little girl named Anne-Marie who can talk to animals. He rescue naps. He rescue naps the girl and ends up using her to gamble at animal races while growing a slow developing friendship between them. In the film, as a slow-paced character development on Charlie's end of the story, so to speak. Later in the film, Charlie ends up having a nightmare about where his soul is going after he rejects his place in heaven. The nightmare includes him entering Dog Hell, where the bone dragon monster thing, a skeleton boat surrounded by lava, and no hell is complete without a depiction of the devil. This devil dog, whom we'll call Bilderbark, is the highlight of the scary moment in this movie. Along summoning imps to attack the poor dog as he tries to find some escape to return back to heaven, with him being told he can never go back. Thankfully, it's all just a nightmare, but it still gives us massive nightmares ourselves. Even though Charlie wasn't the world's most perfect good dog, he's still a dog who made bad decisions and has a good heart under that hardened con artist personality. And in my opinion, he doesn't really deserve to be in hell just because he made bad choices. He has some kind of goodness in him. Now I get that Charlie was no better than Carface in this movie, but he had some redeeming qualities, to me at least. Sure, call it poor character development for him, but he had some compassion to rescue Nap Anne-Marie away from her current living situation from Carface, be it all for the same purpose. But like I said earlier, Call it poor development for his character, but he at least had some compassion behind his real intent. It may be me seeing the better in Charlie, even though he isn't perfect or guardian angel material, but that might be me and how I see characters like him. And this scene makes people wonder where they go when they die. Do we get rewarded or punished? Do we become angels or demons? For me, I'd rather be a wandering spirit, sightseeing throughout the world as a traveling soul, so to speak. I think this adds more of a depressing thought, knowing that 3 of the main actors, Judith Barsley, voice of Anne-Marie, and Dougie from Land Before Time, being murdered by her cowardly, abusive father in a murder-suicide, Dom DeLucy, voice of Itchy Itchyford, died of kidney failure, and recently, as of 2018, Burt Reynolds, voice of Charlie, died of a heart attack. They're all in heaven right now as we speak. I'd like to dedicate this entry in their honor. Judith, a young 10-year-old actress whose life was taken far too soon. Dom, an actor who could never be replaced as some of the funniest characters in Dom's films. And Bert, the main man behind the smooth-talking German Shepherd con artist. All 3 actors who will be dearly missed and will not be forgotten. VeggieTales, Larry Boyd and the Fib from Outer Space. While I am cheating with this one, because it's not really classified as a full movie, it's still something that I'm sure not only terrified me, but many other Veggie fans as young children. When Phil Vischer and Mike Naraki finished Dave and the Giant Pickle and creating the character Larry Boy, Phil had the idea of creating a Batman parody with Bob in place as the hero and Larry in place as the goofy sidekick. But Phil then replaced Larry as the hero. Trivia aside, as the episode goes on, and Junior keeps telling lies, the Fib ends up becoming a monster that's taller than the dang building, plucking Junior from the ground and causing mass destruction on the city of Bumbleberg. Most of the destruction could put Lord Beerus to shame, but that's not the unsettling and creepy part. That honor goes to the Fib's attempts to eat both Junior and Larry Boy, with Larry being his first victim. I understand people have some kind of odd and unique obsession with war, but that's already scary enough even for VeggieTales, which made them jump through the ring of fire. And seeing as they are vegetables, this is probably one of the main reasons why I didn't want to eat my vegetables. And this is the moment that more or less likely scared me and various other children who watched this episode, and caused a lot of parents to send harsh letters about the episode, terrifying their children, which wouldn't be the first time VeggieTales has gotten letters similar to this. After Rag Shack and Benny was released, the original Bunny song was sang by a lot of kids, saying they didn't love their parents and would go to church or school, causing Phil and Mike to make 2 new and improved Bunny songs. One for the first sing-along video, and another for the re-releases of Rag Shack and Benny. That aside, I give VeggieTales was sending the message of tell the truth, but other shows do that just as well without the mass fear of mongering that an alien monster will come to your city, grow 3 sizes too big, and end up kidnapping and eating you afterwards if you don't speak the truth. This is one of the things I remember the most as a kid, mainly because this part was what caused me to have nightmares as a child, with the Fib randomly eating me whether I told a lie or the truth. Luckily, future episodes of Larry Boy, including the cartoon adventures, while being slightly scary, were more comedic. Case in point, Rumor Weed, with Larry Boy acting like a hero 1 minute and acting all scared the next. I'm not sure why it's comedic to me, but at least it helps with some of the more scarier moments in Larry Boy episodes. Toy Story 3. Toy Story is a classic for Disney/Pixar fans of all ages. No matter how old or young you are, you had to appreciate Toy Story's movie quadrilogy. While I haven't seen the 4th installment of the series, I'm more familiar with the 3rd and possibly final movie for the series. But the 3rd movie is more mature compared to Toy Story and Toy Story 2. Disney is no stranger to creepy or scary moments in its movies, be it by themselves or in collaboration films with Pixar. Toy Story 3 is a damn near allegory for the Holocaust, from what a lot of Toy Story fans theorize and compare to. Lots of the bear being the corrupted leader after his toy owner Daisy replaced him, and now Big Baby or Chuckles the Clown, with the 3 finding Sunnyside Daycare, and Lotso taking over with new toys being put in the caterpillar room, and the older toys being put into the butterfly room, with the new toys being treated horribly by infants and toddlers, and the old toys being treated fairly by older toddlers and preschoolers, which is already messed up, symbolizing some form of abuse. And don't get me started on the creepy AF symbol monkey. Big Baby was already terrifying enough for me, but Lotso is the most creepy and sadistic character compared to the monkey and Big Baby. The monkey is just freaky. Big Baby is just a baby doll, just missing and longing for its mother. Compared to them, Lotso is a real scare factor in the movie. And again, don't get me started on the fire pit thing, where it's basically symbolizing death of Holocaust victims. While Toy Story had a lot of creepy moments along with Sid the Toy Destroyer, and Toy Story 2 with Stinky Pete having similar intent to Lotso's, only dumbed down just a tiny bit. Toy Story 3 is by far the creepiest movie, even with the toys about to be burned to death. Thankfully, with the Pizza Planet aliens saving them in the nick of time. While this movie is theorized to be similar to the Holocaust in World War II, this is more than an enjoyable movie, regardless of the symbolism. Still, those symbolisms though. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I don't think I need to mention this, but I will anyways. I love Scooby-Doo, and always have ever since I was a child. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island was one of my favorite movies as a child, and I had almost every Scooby-Doo movie to date, mostly from the late 90s to the early 2000s pre-Cyber Chase. I never really liked scary things as a kid, but Scooby-Doo along with Courage the Cowardly Dog, that was the only exception because dogs, and I am a dog kind of girl. It's about the Mystery Inc. gang reuniting after their departure to head to Louisiana to find some real ghosts, but with all of them being random people in masks and costume, for all the same reasons as previous Scooby-Doo villains. But in this movie, the slogan that says it all, for the straight-to-video movie, the monsters are real. A zombie pirate comes to life with a sword coated in dried blood, or what seems to be dried blood, with seemingly malicious intent towards Scooby and Shaggy. The duo luckily escape in time, and later, having a swarm of pirate zombies swarm after them again. Thankfully again, the two escaped. And then later, Freddy literally ripping the zombie's head off to reveal it to be real, only to have the zombie put its head back on its body. And Scooby, Shaggy, Freddy, and Daphne being surrounded by more zombies, with everything being too real, and of course, the Werecat ladies, Lena, voiced by the amazing Tara Strong, Jacques the ferry driver, voiced by the amazing comedian Jim Cummings, and Simone, I don't know who her voice actor is, so don't ask me, being the real villains, and the zombies trying to warn the gang so they wouldn't end up with the undead like them. Werecats, zombies, the monsters being real of all things, with the gang having a monstrous reality check on the paranormal. This movie, while it did give me some scary feels, is my most favorite out of all the Scooby-Doo movies. It was a fun one at that. Definitely the best out of all of them, including the 2002 and the 2004 live-action adaptations. I was going to add them into this entry, but Zombie Island was the one that won the coin toss in the end. And this is also what made me have a love for zombies in the first place. The monsters actually being good guys was a pretty big plot twist, and I like it. And Werecats was also something new to add in to the modern-day monsters. I guess it gives something for werewolves to chase after instead of cars. Jokes aside, let's move on. Monster House. A creepy old house possessed by a wicked spirit of a man's wife, coming to life and attacking folks? Check. An old man who's a crazy person and tells people to stay away without saying why for no reason? Check. 3 kids trying to solve the mystery like Scooby-Doo? Check. Sorta. While I only saw Monster House maybe once or twice growing up, it's one of those weird goosebump wannabe movies that actually holds up for the most part. The house was possessed by Mr. Nebbercracker's late wife, Constance, who was rescued from a freak show by him, and had died during an accident while their house was still being built. Since her death, Mr. N had actually scared off some of the local neighborhood kids to protect them from his wife's vengeful spirit, so they wouldn't get eaten. Later in the film, after coming home from the hospital, DJ, voiced by a young Mitchell Musso, before his days on Hannah Montana, tells Mr. N that it's time to let Constance's spirit be at rest and to let her go. With the house now angry, Anna literally comes to life attempting to kill DJ and his friends, Jenny and Chowder, and maybe even her own husband, or tries to take him back, or both. Multiple times, mind you. This is one of those weird movies you remember from your childhood, and you ask yourself if it was real or some weird rare candy trip, or even a fever dream. But I can assure you that this movie is all real. But one thing still confuses me, even when I'm not watching this movie. How is it that no one in the entire dang neighborhood of this movie saw the house come to life, try to kill 4 people, 3 of them being children, and not even bother to help them? Maybe it's some weird symbolism with this movie that I can't see or figure out. This movie was not only creepy, it was also super weird too. The Land Before Time, another Don Bluth masterpiece, with more honor to Judith, who voiced Ducky, as an added bonus. This is a movie that started the whole adventure of these memorable dinosaur kids from the Great Valley all the way to the mysterious island. But this movie is pretty much, well, nothing short of scares itself. Like with Disney, we're no strangers to scarring and making children cry. The movie starts out with the dinosaur family sticking to their own kind, such as Sarah's father quoting, "3 horns don't play with long necks." Wow. Kinda racist there if you ask me. No, wait, scratch that. Full-on racist if you ask me. Which kinda sets the mood for this film. Even though the dinosaurs are different species, they still had to stick together to find their families and find their way to the Great Valley. That aside, later in the film when Sarah and Littlefoot are playing far from their families, a T-Rex, or as the movies call them, Sharptooth, appears out of the blue attacking them, and attempting to eat the 2 little dinos. Littlefoot's mother manages to save them in the nick of time, with the cost of her own life, sadly. Now alone, with no one else and separated from his grandparents, Littlefoot has to venture off on his own for the first half of the film. Later when Sarah encounters Sharptooth, thinking he's already dead, headbutts him, only to find out that he's still alive, and he chases after her. After the 5 dinosaur kids stick together, Sharptooth comes after them, and as they get away in time, Sharptooth steps on the tree star Littlefoot's mother gave to him before she died. So that whole sentimental value to him, now gone. Thankfully they managed to defeat the Sharptooth at the end of the film, but this is one of the greatest monsters in Don Bluth's films, aside from Beelzebub, and many more villains, beasts, and monsters Don created in his films. The Secret of Nim, yet another Don Bluth film to be added to this list. The film was actually based off the book Miss Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. The book is more messed up than the movie is. While the movie is somewhat lighthearted in a really weird way, while I have yet to read the book, the film itself is kind of close to the book, with some exceptions of changes, like with Coraline. The movie starts out fun with Miss Frisbee trying to heal her son from pneumonia and saving her family from the humans' destruction. Later in the film, when she encounters the owl, it starts out eerie. And the fact that a freaking spider is about to attack her does not help! I'm a huge arachnophobe, so watching this scene was already unsettling enough for me. Dear God. Thankfully, the owl saves her from what the spider was about to do. In another scene where one of the rats explains how they were being tested by humans, almost ended up being a nightmare rare candy trip. I don't think I need to explain this further than I already have. The movie itself is wonderful, but some of the scenes in it are already scarier, and that's what Don always seems to go for. I mean, being scared is a natural feeling. At least that's what Don's films always seem to show. That being said, let's move on. Watership Down, yet another movie based on the book of the same name. Like I said earlier, before the 90s, 2000s, and possibly the 80s, parents weren't really concerned with what their kids were watching. And Watership Down happens to be one of those movies. It's about a bunch of rabbits trying to find a new home. Lighthearted, right? Wrong. Throughout the film, there's death, 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 insanity, claustrophobia, death, death, more death, a rabid dog, rabbits battling, and did I mention death? This is supposed to be a kids movie, right? Well, not Watership Down. In one of the scenes, one of the rabbits ends up getting stuck in a trap, and when help arrives, it's already too late. In another scene, one rabbit explains how all rabbits tried to escape, but there was no way out, causing mass claustrophobia in all of them. And all of them possibly, well, going to bunny heaven. And in a final scene, where a rabbit dog ends up mangling poor rabbits to death, and ends up in an unseen battle between it and a rabid rabbit. Well, you put the puzzle together and conclude an ending of that by yourself, if you will. Well, I haven't seen this movie as a kid, thank Arceus. I did see it out of curiosity, and this movie is messed up as fuck. But what do I think is the most disturbing, creepy, scariest kids movie / moment in a kids movie? Well, before I reveal that answer, a quick honorable mention goes to Plague Dogs. I'll make this one quick and short. The movie involves two dogs escaping after being animal tested by mad scientists. One dog was on the verge of drowning, but it was saved to probably suffer more afterwards, while another dog had duct tape on his head for some reason. And throughout the film, you see animals in horrible situations, such as rabbits being caged in with only their heads sticking out, monkeys on forced breeding racks, to put it lightly, and a rat in a skitter box. And then there was a scene of a man being shot. I've already seen clips of this movie, and I don't recommend you look it up, or watch it at the very least. The Ringing Bell. A film made by Sanrio of all things. The film starts out sweet and innocent, like of most of the others on this list, but as the film progresses, things get worse from there. The lamb's mom being killed by a wolf protecting her baby, and tries to wake her up as he bangs on her corpse, attempting to wake her up. He then begs the wolf to train him to be powerful, and attempts to save bird eggs from a snake, only to damage them himself. The wolf explains the circle of life to the lamb, as the lamb tries to stop it. The wolf then agrees to train the lamb, as he becomes what he aims to defeat. The wolf tries to attack his old home, only to be stabbed by the demon lamb. When he tries to go home, he's rejected because he's no longer recognizable to the other sheep. He is then all alone, like the wolf was. This film and the protagonist is the allegory for Bambi if he asks the hunter to train him and kill him like the hunter killed his mom. And why Sanrio even made this film is beyond me. The creators of things such as Hello Kitty and My Melody were really jumping the shark with this film. Surprisingly enough, America of all places kept the film's G rating and even aired it on daytime TV. Again, I say, why? Honestly, I'm surprised most of us who watch some of these films still have what sanity most of us have left. As a kid, I was always made fun of for being scared easily. As said earlier, fear is a natural emotion, and no one should be made fun of for it. I hope you folks enjoyed this video, and if so, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to join the Pupper Pack today. Special thanks and huge shout out to my Patreon for their support. If you want to support me and this channel, and get specialized rewards, be sure to become a Patreon on my Patreon, which is linked down below, along with my PayPal if you'd like a commission. And if you want your fan art featured, be sure to follow and tag me on any and all my social links in the description below. As always, I'll see you in the next one, pups. Stay awesome, stay strong, and stay beautiful.